Hello and welcome to this week's craft and chat. It's bank holiday here in the UK, which means that it's a public holiday, so people are off work and obviously doing nice things. It being the Easter weekend, so I'm actually here by myself. So I'm going to be chatting to myself, which is nothing new, quite frankly. And let's face it, when you're chatting to yourself, you always get the right answer. So it's just one of those. So I'm going to share with you. First of all, I'm going to make my phone make it bigger. I'm not sure how to do that because there's only two of us. So I don't know. Let's see if I can just do it with my. I'm just going to have to do it like that, seeing as it's just me. Okay, so for April, April's craft and chats. We've been playing tic-tac-toe. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a bit like noughts and crosses, basically, except each square has something you're supposed to include on your project. So the first week we were doing horizontal lines. Last week we were doing vertical lines, and then this week 3 out of the 4 corners. So so use squares, blue, sparkly gems, and a minimum of 2 layers. So actually, with those 4 corners and those options, you end up with 4 different options. Now I'm not gonna. I still can't see how. What does pin do? Oh, there we go. Okay, so pin means basically make it so that it's the one and only here. Oops, that's not right. Sorry if that's just made you a bit sick. Right, okay, that's it. I'm not going to move it anymore. So I've already had a play around and I've come up with 3 cards. There's a bit of a theme going on. It's like blue. So this one was I did the squares, shades of blue and sparkly gems. So this was what I made, I should say. So it has a little alarm clock on it, which I thought was quite a nice idea to have as a square. So I actually put it on a die-cut piece of boho blue cardstock. And then as a sentiment. So these are all popped up on dimensionals. Got the gems on. Winker Stella on some of these bits here. So this was stamped in Memento, and then I coloured it using different inks and my blending brushes. And I haven't even done this inside yet, but shh, don't tell anybody that one. So that was the first one that I made. The second one was this one. So this was blue. So it was blue, sparkly gems, and minimum of 2 layers. So this is what I made for that. And this stamp is actually in the same stamp set as this one. So again, it's all one stamp, so I stamped it all at once, die cut it, and then coloured. So I've got some, to say, is that boho blue? What was that? Anyway, I've got the blues in there anyway. So and Winker Stella and lots more sparkly gems this time. And I did actually use another stamp to create a background on this. And then the third one that I made, I kind of went to town with the squares. So I don't know if you can see, but it's a square card. I cut another square piece of white, and I used my scoring blade on my trimmer, and I scored basically lines all the way around, so every half a centimetre. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines here, 5 there, 5 there, and 5 there. It's just so it accentuates the fact that it's squares. So this is a minimum of 2 layers. So I've actually got quite a few on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 effectively. Might end up going as a large letter because of the height. Here in the UK, we don't have the problem like in the US that we can send square cards and there's no extra postage for squares, unlike the US. So it's like layers. So some of them have been die cut, some of them are just plain squares, got a little alarm clock and a sentiment. So those were my 3 cards. I'll show you quickly the stamps that I used, which I think I've got them buried. What have I done with them? I know I had them a minute ago. Here we go. So these arrived on Saturday. So I've been having a good play this weekend, and they're all from Pink Fresh, and I bought them from an online store here in the UK, so I didn't have to have them shipped from the US. So I've got stencils, which I use to do all the colouring. Got the stamp set. So this is all one stamp. And just for those of you who are interested, it's called Good Times. Hence the clock. So we've got a don't know if that's supposed to be a mantle clock or a grandmother's clock, and then an alarm clock, and that's an alarm clock. I've assumed it's an alarm clock or a clock to go on the wall anyway. And then there are also dies. So there's a one-piece die which cuts all of those out, and then there are individual dies for the sentiments. So that's what I've used for those 3 cards, which means that I have left 1 card to do, because as I said, there are 4 options. So I'm left to do gems, 2 layers and squares. So without further ado, I am going to proceed and to make that. So I've already dug out a stamp, which is one of my old Stampin' Up stamps, and it's called Timeless Tiles. So I'm going to use that because guess what? It's already got squares on it. I haven't really got to worry too much about the square side. That's already fully covered. 2 layers I'm going to do by using different colour inks and different colour cardstock. And then obviously gems, I can just go to town quite happily with those. So that's not going to be an issue either. So I've already got my stamp put onto my my stamping tool. At least as I had. This one I'm not too worried about it when it comes to having it in the corner, because the plan is to only try and stamp it once, but we'll see. This doesn't look like it's sticky. You know what? I know why. I tried to line up the image, and there isn't actually any sticky stuff on that side. So, and I thought I would go with. So I'm not going blue. I already decided that. So I have some Berry Burst and some Fresh Freesia cardstock. And then the inks I've got, so these are all Stampin' Up colours. Inks I've got are Blackberry Bliss, Berry Burst and Fresh Freesia. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start quickly with the Berry Burst. I'm going to use that to make my card base. So I've got my sheet of A4 and I'm going to cut it in half on the long side at 14.9. And I'm going to turn it so it's on the new long side and score it at 10.5. So that will make my base card, like so. So I have that. Then I'm going to cut a panel of Fresh Freesia. Now I like to cut my cardstock in half, but then I've always got a piece that will be big enough for a base card. And then cut it into half again. And then just work on that piece. So I actually need this to be 10 centimetres wide by 14, oops, Daisy, 14.4. So that is like half a centimetre smaller than the base card. So there will be a nice border going all the way around. And then for the front, again, I'm going to cut my white, basic white in half. And I need a piece for the front. I should do the piece for the inside first. So that's going to be 10 by 14.4 centimeters. You don't need to take any of these measurements down. I will write up the instructions in both metric and inches. So you don't need to worry about that. And then the piece on the front needs to be 9.5 by 18.9. So again, that piece will sit quite neatly with a border on there. Now this is the piece that I'm actually going to stamp on. Or is it? Let me think. Let's see. It's going to be pretty close. You know what? I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm going to stamp on this piece, because then I know it will definitely be large enough. So first off, I need to get my magnet out here. Some people put washi tape around them, but for some reason I've just never got around to doing that. So I'm going to put that on here like this and use the magnet down here to hold that. That's it. And I'm going to, I'm not going to use blackberry bliss just yet. So I'm just going to use that actually to put underneath. So I'm going to start with the fresh freesia. And I'm going to stamp all over with the ink all over. Make sure there's lots of it in there. And then stamp down. Make sure I give that a really good pressing down. I mean, the fact that I've actually used a... So obviously I didn't put enough pressure on this end, and that end doesn't really look that good. So let's try it again. How's that? So this end is better, but that end is still not good. So I do have somewhere something that will help me if I can find it. I only used it the other day. I've obviously gone and put it somewhere safe. It's pretty typical of me. This is going to be interesting then. Let's try this again. That could be that it's because I've actually got this on a foam mat. So first off, apologies, because I just realised that I can now see the ring light. Why is it doing that? No, it's getting a bit better. It's just a question of getting enough pressure on it. Oh, certainly working the muscles today. That is so annoying. But I might actually have enough in that spot there to do what I want to do. So let's try that. So let's take that out for a minute. There. Oops, no, it's not going to work. Put that there away. Close up that ink. And bring everything back. And I do have with this. Let's see. I think I want to have it sort of that size. I'm just simply going to use a pair of scissors and cut it. So I could use my paper trimmer. By the time I've lined it all up, I may as well just use a pair of scissors. And the nice thing about this stamp, or this style of stamp, because you can get all sorts of things, is just a large background stamp. If you don't have one that's actually in the form of squares, you can just stamp a large background and then simply just cut it into squares. The fact that this has already got the squares on there just makes my life simpler. Right. So that will fit on there like that. That's quite sweet, just like that. Now I want some different colours, so I'm going to bring back this. I've literally just turned this over. And then this time I'm going to stamp this bit in Berry Burst, so that I have a darker colour. Let's see. I'll just move that over slightly. And I know I've already put some ink on here by mistake, but I'm not too bothered by that, simply because I'm not going to be using the whole of this image, and I'm not worrying about cleaning it because I'm just using a darker colour on top of the fresh freesia. That's would be good. Hopefully this will come out. This will dry slightly lighter. Okay. The other thing you could do with this is like do an ombre effect. So use the inks. Going to leave that there for a minute to dry. And then I've got another piece, which was what was left from that previous one. And I'm going to put that on here. And I'm going to use Blackberry Bliss this time, which again is even darker. You need to be careful with this because Blackberry Bliss gets everywhere. Let's see, what's that? I only need that middle bit anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Let's close this up. I've got my base card. And I've got this. So I could just do strips going across, or I could do strips going across. So I've got, this is the original, a colour, the original, another colour, and then the original, which means that I would need, in fact, all I'm going to do at the moment is just simply cut that strip and hope that that blackberry bliss is actually dry now. I'm just using the lines on my paper snips to do this. So I could just do it that way. And then this one again, I want just a strip. I have a real problem with pollen here at the moment. So excuse me if you hear me starting to sniff. Probably better than the foghorn if I blow my nose. So we could do it that way. Or that way, that way. So let's see. Oh, that. You have lots of fun with this, just playing around with it. Oh, I quite like that. Or we could just stick to two colours, not bother with the blackberry bliss, and just do the berry burst and the fresh freesia, like so. Wait, play around even more and put the different options here is just, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there's so many things you could do. Actually, that's not come out that well. Oh, that one, that one, that one. Actually, I quite like that. Don't like that one. I'll use that one. There we go. I'm happy with that. And then I've got these other bits here that I can simply just stick inside the card with that piece of white and on the envelope. Use that to decorate that. This is what I find. I don't have any more of that lighter colour. But hey. Actually, they're better ones. No, they are. They'll do. Right. And as I said, I could play around with this. for some silly reason this is being daft. So I'm hoping that that's still going. Had some really weird message come up. And I'm just going to start gluing this all together. So I'm going to put on my, put the white onto the fresh freezer, just with some Tombow, the multi-purpose glue. Get on there like this. So I'm not going to, these basic layers, I am not going to use any dimensionals on. Or any foam pads. I don't think this bit needs it. And in fact, I'm not even sure that the next layer needs it. So this is the next layer. So that's going to go in the middle. I'm just going to glue that as well. It's just going to go in the middle there. Hopefully that's all. Straightforward. Now, oops, that doesn't look straight to me. That looks a bit on the wonk. See if that's better. So we had that bit there. We had that bit there. And we had that bit there. So I'm going to put those on with some foam pads. Those. I don't need to get too mad. I'll put 4 on each. And get the backing off properly. Get that on top there. Like so. Next one. Getting fewer and fewer on them. I've only got 3 on this one. Some more on this. If you look at it too closely, you can make your eyes a bit skew with. That's that. And then we had, these were going in. Where did we put them? No, I'm going to stick with what I was planning. Start changing my mind. I'll be here all day. Sometimes these come off really easy, and other times it's just like, oh, please. So that's going to go on there. One's going to go on there. So, and then the last one. And it's going to go at the top. I haven't put a sentiment on this, but I'm not too bothered about that. You can always put a sentiment on the inside. So that's going to go on there like that. So that's all those done. I've got my piece of white, and I'm going to add those 2 squares. Or maybe I just even add 1 square. on the inside. That could go there. And I'll put that whole thing into the card. Means you've then got somewhere to write your note, happy birthdays, or whatever it is that you're using the card for. That's that. So I do have my 2 layers, I have my squares, but I don't yet have my gems. So that's the last thing I have got to do. Try and move some of this junk out the way. So I have a choice of, so I have these iridescent faceted gems, and I also have some festive pearls, but they've got some silver and some gold, and I think from memory that there are also, yes, some of these red ones on there. So I am going to use these. Actually, where is it? See how it looks. Oh, that's quite cute. I think I might do all of these. Go mad. I'm not going to put any on the fresh freezer ones. I think that might be slight overkill. So there you go. So that's my 4th card. Using 3 out of the 4 squares from April's Tic-Tac-Toe. So this one, as I said, is gems, 2 layers. Well, there's more than 2, well more than there, and squares. So these are all obviously individual squares. Well, actually, no, these is one big rectangle. But so, and then on the inside, I have put that like that. So those. So that's my card for today, and then find the other 3 cards. So that was my squares, something blue, and layers. This was squares, blue, and gems, and then this was blue, gems, and 2 layers, minimum of 2 layers. So that's all of my cards. So I've got 3 blue ones, and I've got 1 in the pinks and purples. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I will be back next week with the last of April's Tic-Tac-Toes, which will be, get my piece of paper. So next week's is going to be pick any 3 squares. So I can move away completely from blue, and I can do whatever I want out of 3 of these. Okay, so hope to see you next weekend. Sorry, next Monday. This will go up on YouTube with the instructions for this particular card. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing that, and so have a good week. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.